Welcome back to another episode, and I'm so excited. So, for those of you that follow me on social media, you know that I am all over the place. And I love my job because it gives me the ability to have a lot of diversity in my life. And today's guests are special guests of mine. We just spent a fantastic time together down at the Waldorf Astoria in Orlando for the Southern Cross Service Dog Golf and Gala event. And guys, like, first of all, it feels like it was just yesterday. I'm so excited to have you on the show because after experiencing everything for myself, really for the first time, I feel guilty that I didn't have you on my show before we went ahead and got together for the event. So, without further ado, I am with Matt Krug and Brandon Marquez, and you guys are the founders of Southern Cross Service Dogs. So, Matt, let's start with you. Give us a little bit of who you are and then how you and Brandon got together.
So my story started a long time ago in Long Island, like you know.
Yep.
Spent most of my life there. I moved down to Florida about 7 years ago now. I work full time for Microsoft, and I do like technology road mapping for Wall Street and things like that. So this is a very different muscle for me doing these things with Brandon. But we kind of got together during COVID. My family got a COVID puppy, and our COVID puppy led to finding a trainer, and that trainer was Brandon. And Brandon and I really hit it off. So he'd come over for an hour of dog training, and it would end up being 2 hours and 3 hours, and then led to coffee and led to bourbon. And, we developed a good friendship. And he would always tell me about this dream of his that he had shortly after coming out of the Marine Corps to provide service dogs to veterans in need because he saw what it was doing for them. And one day, a couple months later, he asked me to do this with him. And now here we are about 3 years later and 5 dogs in the program and constantly growing and having a lot of fun.
I love it. So, Brandon, tell us a little bit about you because you and I did interview you at the golf outing. And, I think I more or less drilled you on all of these questions. But let's start with telling a little bit about your story and what led you to wanting to create Southern Cross Service Dogs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just toss in a quick thank you because we haven't had that chance yet for all of your help, not only coming down and supporting us, but just jumping in as a member of the team and seeing how you can just jump in and truly help where we needed it in those moments. Thank you. We really, really
Team
appreciate
effort, my friend, team effort.
Yeah. Hey, we appreciate it. So, yeah, the story starts with my military background. I was in the Marine Corps for just under 10 years. Seven of my last 7 of those I spent in the Special Operations Command, training and working dogs for them. So there, I had my wonderful dog Shemansky that you can see on the picture behind me here, and we traveled all over the world doing combat operations, training and advising, just a wide range of special operations mission sets. And throughout that, I got knocked around and kind of blown up and injured a handful of times. And with that, it led me to a medical retirement. In that process, I always say I was incredibly fortunate that I had a lot of different services offered to me. And I tried to go into it with the mentality of, hey, if somebody who's a professional at this says this might help you, who am I to say no and not try? So I jumped into all of these different types of therapies and just with the mindset of making myself better and how can I improve. And I realized through that I was still doing my favorite thing in the world, which was training dogs. I was still involved in it and I still, I really had that passion. And I found that therapy for myself of I like the training. That's where I find my comfort. That's where I find my happiness, my rhythm. That's my spot. And I saw the impact that a service dog can do for the veterans like myself when I was in that position. I saw how that can make a change. So the great Robert De Niro quote that I love from A Bronx Tale, and he says the saddest thing in life is wasted talent. And I thought to myself, how can I not use this skill set that's helping me to help more people? And that led me to meeting a great person like Matt, and here we are.
I love that. So let's talk a little bit about the dynamics. So you guys are well, I shouldn't say you guys, you have a 501c3, which allows people to make donations. So it's a very different skill set, and it's a very different mindset to be in the not-for-profit space. So how are you guys come from two very different backgrounds. So how does that work as far as the organization goes? Matt, how about you take that?
Well, I think that's what makes us work, right? So we have very different backgrounds. When we started doing this, I said, I've never trained a dog. Brandon's never run an organization, and neither of us have ever raised a dime. Raising money is new for both of us. Running large organizations is what I do professionally, but this is very different. Running an organization that isn't funded by a for-profit business is very different. And unlike some other nonprofits that are either very, very well funded or funded through a trust or all different kinds of things, endowments and those kind of things, we actually run on the money we raise. So it's a very different thing. The nationwide average is about $60,000 a year to raise and train each service dog. So it's not a small effort. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of money. We need a place to do it. We need vehicles to bring them around. We need people to support us. So it's not an easy effort. And running an organization that's strictly funded by donations is a challenging environment to be in.
I've been on that side, and as both of you know, I work a lot in the not-for-profit space. It's my way of being able to give back. And I think one of the largest challenges we hear universally is that people don't like to ask for money, and they don't like to continuously go after the same people, because it's, you don't want the stigma of saying, oh, they want me to attend again. They want money from me again. So what other vehicles are you using other than, we're going to talk about your fundraisers, but what vehicles are you using to bring dollars in to the organization?
So our favorite is hosting and throwing events, because that's the fun part of the business,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's a serious topic. It can be the kind of topic that can get people down at times, but we try to keep it very lively. And what I mean down at times is, one of our goals is we're trying to save the lives of veterans. Approximately 22 veterans a day take their own life, and we're trying to do our part to help prevent that. Service dogs is a proven way to do that. So there's that reason that we're doing it, but we do try to keep it very light and fun for people who attend our events. So that's our fun part of the event. We also have a monthly contribution called our Always Beside You campaign, where we're trying to get the word out to get people to donate $5, $10, $20 a month, whatever they could afford, to help us get through this. Right now, for a small organization, it costs us about $20,000 a month to be us, and we're not anywhere near where we need to be. So we're trying really hard to get that monthly sponsorship up so that we can take the events that we throw and start bringing capital campaigns in, so that we can buy some land, build a facility, and get to that next level. We have a goal here locally of 20 dogs per year here out of Central Florida. So that, it's quite a goal, but we're doing pretty good to get there.
Now, if somebody wanted to make, because I'm going to stop in between, somebody wanted to make a contribution, tell everybody the website that they can go visit.
Yeah, so we're southerncrossservicedogs.org, and you can donate right on our website. You can reach out to us right through our website. It's not just donations we need help. We need volunteers, puppy raisers. We need people to help us find the veterans that are in need. And I'm sure Brandon will tell you, but we're looking for those veterans that aren't necessarily asking for a dog, aren't necessarily asking for help. And, that's an important aspect to us, is we need everybody's help to find those people that truly need these life-saving dogs.
I love it. And, again, this is why Southern Cross Service Dogs is so important to the communities. So what I want to do now is I want to jump into a little bit more about, spearhead off of what we were just talking about, which is finding the veterans. So Brandon, you come back from service, and you are located now in Southern Florida. You have this incredible idea to help out veterans in the community. You partner with Matt along the way. And now what? Like, what does your day look like?
So, a lot of different things inside of the day, right? But starting with, the application and finding the veterans and giving the dogs away. We were very, very happy to announce that at the beginning of this year, we opened up our application for the first time. It was a long process of building it. We were incredibly lucky to have some support along the way and then to be able to turn it out. So, once we did, and once we opened it up, realized, we hear there's a lot of veterans on the waiting list. There's a lot of veterans that need the help. Finding those veterans and getting in contact with them proved to be more of a challenge than I thought it was going to be. And I knew it was going to be hard. I look at my own process and my friends and things like that. It's an incredible challenge to take somebody, I'll speak for myself, that performed at a special operations level independently with small teams, now to say, hey, I need help.
Yeah.
It's tough to draw that out of people. It's not just a single, hey, nice to meet you. Why don't you fill out the application and we'll give you this dog? It's much deeper than that. So throughout these past couple months, we've really learned that we need to reach that community, but we need to go one step deeper inside of that community to find the right person. And a great example that we've realized is, we go to these events and there's a bunch of veterans there and that are happy to be involved. But the one that's truly looking for our dog or truly needs our dog, they're not there. They're the ones that haven't left home in a couple months, the ones that nobody's seen and friends haven't heard from. They're having a much harder time than the person that's out willing to get involved. But the people there at the events, we know them. We just need to look in our phone. We need to think about the people that we haven't talked to and make that connection. So as we've taken this time to do that, we realize, we're never going to do anything halfway. The right step is to start making these connections and make it a little more personal. So, we're been incredibly fortunate to have opportunities to go out to different veteran organizations and meet different people to share the word. And that's been the kind of focus there.
So from what I'm understanding, the goal here is that where your responsibility is to say, as a veteran, I have the ability to maybe have a better relationship with another veteran because I've been there, I've done that, and I want to show them a better way. Matt's behind the scenes saying, hey, I need to go make money happen, or we're going to be, we're not helping anybody if we don't bring the money in. So when we're talking, one of the things that I'm hearing is the veterans that need the help are not the ones that are there, right? They're not the ones saying, hey, help me, I need this. How hard has it been for you to listen to the stories of some of these veterans? And probably, if I'm not mistaken, they're not receiving the services that they need, which is probably a whole other challenge. Like, do you feel like part of your job now, once you have opened up that application, is not only just seeing whether or not they're a good fit, but do you have this inner responsibility to say, what else can I do to connect them to get services that they actually need? Because it goes beyond the fact that they need a service dog.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, it comes in a couple different ways. We've learned just through going around and talking about this and sharing what we're doing. We have met a lot of great veterans along the way, and some that are open to opening up and sharing their struggles and things like that. And even if they're not that immediate person that we can help with our service dogs right here, I still reach out to them. I'm still sending texts, picking up the phone and calling and finding other resources around. we've been lucky that just through our veteran network and friends and things like that, that we know people other places and we can share some of those resources. Um, but you're absolutely right. A lot of times it's not just that one thing, it becomes a compounding effect. And just like anything else, it can really add up and just add to the overall stress of life. So the more things that we can remove and build this network and build our ways to be able to help people, we're just turning out a better result, a more impact.
One thing I'll add to that too is it's one of the reasons we're partnering with and working with many other organizations that support in this space. Because once we do find those people who need help, we don't have all the answers. The dog may not be all the answers. And I mentioned before our Always Beside You campaign. That really came about because we realized that just placing the dog is part of the solution, not the whole solution. So Always Beside You, our campaign and organization, that all exists to provide wraparound care to our veterans who receive our dogs. So, what Brandon was saying is, if you look at our application, there's certain things that must exist for that to happen, right? You must have a place to live. You must have a car to take the dog to the vet, right? Transportation, those kind of things. There's a lot of people who need a dog who don't have those things. And to disqualify them purely based on financial reasons or environmental reasons that maybe we could help avoid or help mitigate, that's why we have that Always Beside You campaign, so that we can help more people than just that. So, being an executive director and learning more about how nonprofits run, I understand how important it is that we use every dollar that we raise for what we say we're going to raise it for. So you were just down in Orlando at our event, and we're raising money for service dogs for veterans. Our Always Beside You campaign states right in it that we're using it for wraparound care. That's how we can help someone mitigate a leak in their roof, or fix their car that's not working, or do other things that will enable that person to be able to receive a dog that we've spent 2 years training.
I love that. Now, what do you think, Brandon, is the biggest challenge that you're experiencing right now in your sector of the business?
There's probably two that come equal parts. So one is just getting the word out there, right? We're a new organization. We are slowly building that footprint locally and going out and sharing, but always just trying to share that, hey, there's a new service dog organization and you can apply and you can go through the process with us and we're here to help, is certainly one of our starting hurdles. The second one that I would say kind of matches up with that is just getting veterans to make that step and make that leap. It's a lifestyle commitment, and we want people to take it seriously, and we want them to truly understand what they're getting into and not rush into it, but accepting that help or finding yourself in a position to take that first step is definitely a challenge.
Why do you think that the veterans are so reluctant to come out and ask for help?
I think it's part of, for me anyway, it was absolutely, I used to be able to do this. Look at all of these awesome things that we did. And then there's a whole second mentality, especially for myself, that I don't need it. Somebody else needs it more than me. So why would I do it? Because I know of that guy's friend or a veteran like this or someone else. I'm confident someone else out there needs it more than me. So why would I take this spot on the list?
Wow, that's very humbling, I have to say. And when you're listening to a lot of the veterans, there's a couple of different mentalities, I think, that over the years that I've encountered personally in the veteran community. And when you hear somebody say, there's somebody that needs it more than me, right? That's really, really touching. So once again, if you are interested in learning more about Southern Cross Service Dogs, or you would like to make a donation, you can visit southerncrossservicedogs.org. And we are now going to jump into, I think, a fun part, right? So Southern Cross Service Dogs doesn't exist if people didn't help support the organization. So I'm going to throw this over to Matt. Let's talk about the fun stuff, right? We were down, first of all, we met in Vegas, which was fun at a golf outing. And the first thing we start talking about was this event. And we were talking actually with Kevin as well, who's, part of your organization. And, you had me at veteran, right? I feel like it's almost un-American for somebody to say that they support, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Veterans. But yet when you're like, hey, can you give $1 to help a veteran? All of a sudden it's like, oh, I can't be bothered. So I love the fact that when we met, it was so organic because we were able to say, hey, I got a guy, I know, what can we do? And I think that's what makes it fun. So
Yep.
when you and I first met, we talked about this, golf and gala that just passed, and we talked about fundraising. So let's talk a little bit about, first of all, what would you love to see in an ideal situation? What would you love to see from not just people in Florida, but let's go nationwide? Southern Cross Service Dogs is not Florida exclusive. It's a 501c3 organization, and you are able to help people all over the United States. So if you had this platform and you said, in an ideal world, I'd love to see this, what does that look like for you, Matt?
Future vision of, being a chief vision officer kind of guy. I would love to see us having multiple facilities across the country, each producing 20 to 40 dogs a year, right? They say less than 1% of veterans who need a dog have a dog. That's, there's a gas station on every corner for a reason. We certainly would love to see this be a big solution to a big problem, right? So we're in this to make impact. We're not in this to place 3 dogs here in Central Florida. We want to grow to the point that we're placing, hundreds of dogs a year throughout the country. And, we're starting to do that, right? We say, think globally, act locally, so we're trying very hard to be part of our local community. We want to place our first dogs here locally so that we can help build our program out well and have people close by. But last year, Brandon and I spoke in San Diego. We were on the USS Midway speaking to a full deck of the nation's biggest builders and talking to them, and walked out of there with countless supporters. And we've been out in Montana doing a fundraiser. We hosted a gala up in New York on Long Island. And you and I have been talking about other events in New York, right? So this is definitely something that we're working nationally to receive funding because we have a national vision. It's something I've had folks from Canada talk to me about, can we do this in Canada? Because there's not enough people in Canada doing this for their veterans. So it's not just a national problem, it really is global, but we are trying very hard to make our nonprofit as national as we can be while making big local impact.
I love that. And I think one of the things people forget, and whenever I have the ability, I always want to remind them, sometimes it's not about your financial contribution, but your contribution of time. So you have a group of people that are your volunteers, but on a national level, how amazing would it be if you had pockets of volunteers who believed in your vision and said, we will each host one fundraiser a year then, and our goal is 10 grand or 20 grand, right? If you think like that, I think that what happens is those results can become achievable, and it's spreading the word. And time after time, when I go places, it's great that I'm there. And because I work a lot and I'm out and about, everybody will say to me, well, you must know people, you must know people. And sometimes my biggest talent, right, is connecting people that can do something bigger than myself. I might be able to give you a check one time, but what if one time a year I was able to make this incredible event where you become the benefactor, right? It doesn't have to be, and again, for those that are listening, You don't need, if you wanted Southern Cross Service Dogs to be your benefactor, you don't need permission. You
Right.
just go out and you do it. And you say, I'm here today to present you a check for $4,613.26 because it was a benefit for. And I would love that people that are listening, our veterans are so important to us that people take the time to realize that these events exist and we look at fun things that we can do. Golf, we did, right? We did the gala, but let's talk about other things. Like, what other things are easy for people to do to help raise money for the organization? So what do you guys think would be fun, easy things that could be done?
Yeah, well, Rhonda, one of the things you said, strikes home because I say it all the time. Nobody owns a nonprofit. We were fortunate enough to be in a position that we could start this, and we're blessed that we run it. But neither of us own it. This isn't a known entity, right? It's a national nonprofit. So
Yeah.
anybody who feels like they're part of this can be part of this and can play a role in this. And you don't have to be wealthy and write big checks.
No.
You just have to bring people in, spread awareness. So, without awareness, we don't have a mission. So awareness is as important as funding. So we need people to know that this is a problem. We need people to help us find the veterans we need, help us train and raise the dogs that we have. Funding comes behind that. Obviously, we can't do this without money, but awareness is just as important. So we need people who want to evangelize what we're doing, and tell people about us. And like you just said, be the hub in your local area. Have a small fundraiser at your house. Have a wine night. Anything like that. Help us get some people who will donate $5 a month to us. All of those kind of things. I grew up in the time of Sally Struthers, right? For less than a price of a cup of coffee, you could feed a child in Africa.
Yeah.
I think about that now with, hey, $5 a day. Most Starbucks drinks are more than that, And if we could get people to give us $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month, whatever they could afford, that is the type of sponsorship that we need.
And I love that. And I think also what we're looking at is people need to understand that fundraising can be fun. So many times, I think in certain communities, they're burnt out from fundraisers. So even just like you're saying, have a wine and cheese night at your house. You could ask people paint and sip,
Yep.
right? You could do a bowling event. You could do something at Top Golf. It doesn't take a lot, but I think what's important is that we go back to the people that are interested in doing something that is bigger than themselves and even paving the way and teaching them. Maybe that's a whole other segment. We teach people how to make a fundraiser. And I think what happens is that it's setting appropriate expectations, right? Some people say, I collected cans and we raised $236, but maybe it's not about the dollars. Maybe that was 236 cans of dog food that you didn't have to purchase. So I think sometimes it's also a matter of how we look at things, right? And how it makes, sense to the other people that want to get involved. So again, learning about the organization is impactful. We know that. I want to jump back to you, Matt. We have a few minutes left before we're going to have to jump to a commercial break. You have a book coming out. Tell us, you have 2 minutes. Tell me a little bit about the book, and then we're going to spin off into something else from there.
You did get to hear my daughter read it at our last gala. So a couple of months back, I woke up from a dream at 4 a.m. where my daughter told me that I needed to write a children's book called Hope for Me, and it needed to be about a service dog. And a couple minutes later, I was texting myself ideas for the book. By 5:30, I was in my office writing the book. By 6:30, I was creating AI images to match the book. And, shortly after a couple revisions later, we had a book. And that story is about a service dog, and it includes all of us in it. Brandon's in the book, Joey's in the book, I'm in the book, my daughter, Brandon's daughters, all of us are in the book, and it tells a story of a puppy from our puppy selection all the way through being placed with their veteran and the type of things that dog can help do. And for us, that's one of the things we want is awareness, right? Especially for children who immediately want to go play with the dog they see. They don't really realize that that dog is working for that person. So that helps us explain this to that demographic, right? The children get to learn more about what a service dog does. But as Brandon pointed out to me, I didn't even notice, is that reading to dogs is actually part of reading therapy for children. So at the gala, I don't know if I told you this, but we had a superintendent of a local county of schools come over to me and say, I want to put this in all my classrooms. How do we do that? So, that type of thing is really cool.
I love that. And your daughter is fantastic. I met Brandon's children as well. But Molly is just wonderful. So with that, we're going to take a quick break. Once again, if you are interested in learning more about Southern Cross Service Dogs, visit their website, consider making a donation. As we're mentioning, consider hosting an event. There are no dollars that will not be accepted. I'll say it that way. And if you need help with ideas to strategically figure out what fundraiser is best for you, just reach out. Somebody from the team will contact you. But until next time, stay tuned. We're getting ready to bring you a quick commercial, and we're heading right back.